All right, today we're breaking down a really powerful message about how to unlock your true potential. We're going to take some huge ideas and turn them into an actual daily guide you can use to start making a real impact in your world. Let's get right into it.
First things first, we've got to redefine the word focus. It's not just about paying attention. The idea here is to think of it as an acronym, FOCUS, standing for Full-On Cost Until Success. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just about concentrating. It's about a relentless, all-in commitment until you get the result. This one idea, it's the foundation for everything else we're about to cover.
So, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the currency of focus, then we'll get into what it means to discover your vision. From there, we'll talk about building your altar, the engine of love, and finally, how you can rule through diligence.
Okay, let's jump into our first section, the currency of focus. Now, why call it currency? Well, because just like money, your focus is a limited resource that you spend every single day. And how you choose to invest it, that decides whether you grow what's important in your life or, just let it all slip through your fingers.
This line from Scripture just perfectly captures the danger of being unfocused. It's from a story where a man was given something incredibly precious to guard, and his excuse for losing it? I was busy here and there. The lesson is so clear. A scattered life, a distracted life, will always lead to losing the very things you're supposed to be protecting.
This slide reminds me of the old fable, but with a twist. You've got the rat. It's fast. It's got all this frantic energy. It's running all over the place, but it gets nowhere. And then you have the tortoise. It's slow, sure, but its gaze is locked on one thing and one thing only, the finish line. Of course, we all know who wins. The point is, your speed, your talent, your potential, it means absolutely nothing if you don't have that single, unwavering point of focus.
Here's a great way to think about it. Focus works just like a converging lens, like a magnifying glass. It takes all those scattered rays of light, all of your scattered energy and time and talent, and it concentrates them into one single powerful point. And when all that energy is focused, that's when it's strong enough to burn through obstacles and make things happen. Okay, so we get it. Focus is powerful. We need to be like that converging lens. But that leads to a pretty big question, right? What exactly are we supposed to be aiming all of that incredible, focused energy at?
And that brings us right to our first big step in this whole framework, discovering your vision. This is the answer to the question we just asked, because focus, no matter how intense it is totally wasted if you don't have a target. Your vision, that is the target.
Now this is a pretty profound thought. It's saying that just breathing, just being alive, isn't the same as truly living. A life without a clear purpose can feel like you're just wandering around, lost. It's only when you find your vision, your why, that you find your path. And that's the moment your real life truly begins.
And having a vision isn't just some feel-good idea. It's incredibly practical. It becomes your filter. It helps you decide what to say yes to, and, just as importantly, what to say no to. It stops you from sinking hours into things that have nothing to do with your destiny. And it pulls you out of what the Source calls the company of people going nowhere, those just drifting along.
So, let's say you have your focus, and you have your vision. Great, but how do you generate the raw power needed to actually bring it into reality? Well, that leads us to our second principle, build your altar. Now let's be really clear, we're not talking about a physical thing here. Think of this as a kind of personal technology, a system for creating the spiritual energy you need to make things happen.
So what is this altar? It's a powerful metaphor for a life of discipline, a life built on consistency, consecration, and an absolute, unshakable devotion to your purpose. It's what you do every single day, especially when nobody's watching. That consistent effort, that is the engine room of your destiny. So how do you keep this engine fueled? The source material says it's through 3 consistent sacrifices, and not sacrifice in a bad way, but as dedicated acts of devotion. First, prayer, to stay aligned. Second, in-depth study, to gain the wisdom you're going to need. And third, service, which is putting that vision into action for others. These 3 things, done over and over, are what fuel your impact. The message here is, well, it's intense, and it's meant to be. This is a serious warning. A life without that consistent, disciplined devotion, a life without an altar you are constantly servicing, is a life that no matter how much potential it has is ultimately headed for failure. It really drives home that this idea of consistency isn't optional.
All right, so we've got focus, we've got vision, and we've got this altar-generating power. But there's one more crucial component that regulates it all, your character. This brings us to the third principle, the engine of love. The whole idea here is that power, without the right heart to guide it, isn't just useless, it's actually destructive.
The source points out that before anyone is given real influence, their heart gets tested first. It alludes to that moment when Jesus asks Peter, "Do you love me?" And he asks it before he gives him the huge responsibility to feed my sheep. The message is unmistakable. The question about love always comes before the release of power. It's the ultimate qualifier.
And this slide just lays out the two paths so clearly. On one side, you have influence without love. What does that do? It enslaves people. It kills their confidence. It makes them dependent. But on the other side, you have impact that's powered by love. And what does that do? It does the exact opposite. It sets people free. It builds them up. It creates freedom. The difference is night and day.
Okay, so we have all these powerful internal principles: focus, vision, discipline, love. How do we actually connect them to real-world results? The bridge that takes us from principle to practice, according to the source, is our final idea: ruling through diligence. This is about the day-in, day-out grind of mastering your craft.
This piece of ancient wisdom draws a direct line between diligence and influence. It says that a person who is truly diligent in their business, and you can think of that as your calling, your vision, they will eventually find themselves in places of honor. Their excellence will be so undeniable that it commands the attention of kings.
So let's be super clear about what diligence actually means here. It's not just about working hard or putting in long hours. It's about a deep, focused attention to the little things. It's the process of studying, practicing, and refining your skills until you go from being an amateur to a true master. It's a relentless, passionate pursuit of excellence.
And here's the key takeaway on this. Diligence is the process that refines your raw talent into something brilliant. People aren't really drawn to a rough, uncut diamond. They're captivated by the finished gem that sparkles. And that sparkle, that mastery that gets you noticed, it only comes from the consistent pressure and polishing of diligence.
And so, to wrap this all up, we're going to turn this whole framework back to you with one simple but powerful question. When you look at your own daily life, what is that consistent, disciplined practice, your altar, that is powering everything you do? What's the real engine of your existence? That's the question this whole message leaves us with.